So you know when you're going around the internet and you're just finding all these people who make all these ridiculous comments and accusations about why you don't like their favorite franchises? Like, for example, I really hate Tekken. I hate this franchise so much. It is so slow. Oh, the only reason it's so slow is because you're not playing on high-level play. Yeah, stuff like that, it really gets on my nerves, and I just had to make a video about it on YouTube. Bing. Okay, I take it that nobody watched, or rather listened, to the last thing I put up, which was called Click on Tape Fucking Link, which is good. Now I got a chance to correct a few errors I made. The only character that actually has two stances in Tekken is Male Stripper at the time, and yeah, that's about the only error I think I made. And another thing, I didn't really explain why Bloody Roar was a great franchise. I kind of just went on how great the characters were. That's not really good enough. And I know a lot of people, they apparently despise the fucking franchise to the point of absurdity. But let me give you good things. Okay, the first accusation of the franchise is that the fighting is generic. Okay, you know, I don't see how the fighting would be generic, considering that a lot of fighting games, all you do is fight. The significance of anything that comes out of a fighting game is that you just beat the other person to death. And so, yeah, that's pretty generic. Unless it does something, I don't know, how the fighting can be just less than generic. I mean, you can just transform into animals and get stronger attacks, and even do more damage than usual. Okay, next accusation is just a button masher. Okay, you know what? I'm button mashing on just about every fighting game out there. Unless it's a 2D game, most 3D fighting games out there are button mashers. And so you know what? Making this type of call is just no excuse. Unless, you know, of course, it's Soul Calibur 2. Then you can actually say it's a button masher because people can easily win doing that shit. But with Bloody Roar and possibly Tekken, and, you know, a couple of other games, you can actually beat button mashers to death in these games. I don't see what the point of writing off a game as a button masher is going to do, because anyone can beat a button masher in any fighting game unless it's Soul Calibur. That's the truth of it. Okay, number 3 accusation, it doesn't do anything for the fighting game genre. What the fuck? Okay, so now a fighting game has to do something for the genre in order for it to be important? Okay, what the fuck did Tekken do? Or Soul Calibur, or Soul Calibur for that matter. We all know Street Fighter popularized and made a standard for fighting games, but tell me what the fuck Tekken or Soul Calibur did. These two popular ass franchises, what the hell did they do to the genre at hand? Not a damn thing. Okay, Soul Calibur, weapon-based fighting games, Samurai Showdown, Last Blade, those came out first. I think Last Blade came out before. Tekken, what did it do? It followed in the footsteps of, Virtua Fighter, and became popular because it was on a PlayStation. Honestly, most of the games that come out on PlayStation wouldn't be popular on any fucking other console, because they were competing with Sonic and Mario at the time. So, trust me, Tekken nor Soul Calibur did shit for the fighting game genre. Trust me on that. Unless you can actually come to this video and give me one of these half-assed excuses of what the fuck it did, then shut the fuck up. Okay, why do I like the franchise? Well, it's easy. The moves are not complicated. Yeah, I know you're probably going to say, yeah, he's a scrub, he likes easier to do moves. But, you know what, think about it this way. Playing a lot of SNK fighting games, the commands for a lot of these moves were almost ridiculous. I mean, for one character, you had to do, down forward, then half circle back, in order to pull off a super move. It was almost insanity, because, for one, that move hardly did any real damage to the opponent. It just did, 30% of his health? What the fuck? Ugh. To me, if a move is highly damaging, then I could see the justification behind why the move is so complicated to do. However, if you're going to pull this type of shit, like for example in Fatal Fury Wild Ambition, you got a character named Mr. Karate, which is actually just Ryo. You know, to do his Hao Shokoken, or whatever the fuck it's called, you gotta go press forward, then half circle forward, and then kick and special. Okay, That's a little too much, to be honest. You gotta do this complicated command and then press 2 buttons at once. It's just insane. And then you've got characters like Guile from Street Fighter who needs to do charge down back, charge down forward, down back, down forward, and then up forward in order to do his somersault super, which doesn't look half as good as his Sonic Hurricane. And for a character who only has 2 special moves to use in a match, he's pretty much gypped at this point. So yeah, I like the fact that the special attacks in Blade Roar are a little easier to pull off. All you do is simple rotationals down forward for most of them. And for some of them you have to do down up or back forward, or just forward back in order to do counter specials and whatnot like that. So yeah, easier to play with? Yeah. However, it leaves more to utilizing them rather than having to pull the moves off. That's what I like about it. Instead of having to learn the moves so discreetly, you just utilize them to the best of your ability, instead of just having to learn to do the moves over and over again. It's like Smash Brothers. You have all these simple attacks, but the game is still harder to master because you have to use these moves in the best of your ability, not just learn them. Not just execute them in the middle of a match. Because if you have to learn the execution of the moves before you can fully play a game, then I don't know. It just doesn't feel as fun because you're struggling just to learn all these moves. And especially since a lot of the 2D fighting games out there have all these half-circle attacks and charge attacks. I fucking hate charge characters. I cannot stand them. I despise them. I abhor the fucking characters. You always have to hold back or down for 2 seconds. Pretty much you have to be all defensive with these characters in order for them to be useful. It just makes me sick. It makes me cringe. I despise Kim Kafwan from King of Fighters. I fucking hate the character. You have to do all this charge shit just to make him useful. I hate that character so damn much. And you know what? A lot of SNK fighting games, a lot of the characters' moves are just difficult to figure out. You don't know what buttons to press, you don't know what their moves are. Unless it's Samurai Shodown, then the entire thing is easy. But you know what? I don't like half-circle movements either, because that's a little more work than necessary. Oh yeah, you can call me lazy, but still. A lot of special attacks in Tekken require 2 button presses. That's probably the easiest thing ever, and people consider Tekken the greatest thing ever. Well, people say that skill is the best rewarded, and if the moves aren't complex enough, then there's no skill, and therefore the game's not good. So why is Tekken so popular at this point? Number 2 reason I like Bloody Roar: characters. Well, even though it's not a part of the gameplay, the characters are pretty nice. I mean, they're not the best things of all time. I think Martial Masters has better character rosters. However, characters like Long, Stun, and such, they have decent designs and a good story going around with it. And number 3 reason about it is that special attacks and all your moves have different effects depending on your character's animation, which adds to a level of strategy when it comes to it. For example, you use Yugo's jump punch, I guess. You press up and then your punch button, and it knocks the person nearly crouching to the ground. At this point, you have a window of opportunity. You can actually knock the person into the air with attacks that would just normally stun them in the face. Like, for instance, you do a short dash kick. If he was standing normally, it wouldn't really do much. I mean, he would just get knocked back a few times. However, if you're in a stunned or a knocked off balance type of animation, you can actually knock him into the air and have more combo abilities than usual. You could say it's a juggling mechanic, but it's not exactly as abusable as in Tekken, because people can actually recover out of that shit. And there's another 5 reason I like about the Blade Roar: you can recover out of anything and escape most of the bullshit that people can get away with in this game. Most, not everything. I mean, unlike most other 3D fighting games, you can't really escape being pummeled to death. However, Blade Roar, a lot of escapes. You have all these opportunities to get out of anything, so you can't really blame the game for you getting your ass kicked most of the time. You can actually just blame yourself for it, because the game allows you all these abilities and opportunities to escape and take opportunities as well to beat the shit out of people. So if you don't take them, then that's really your fault. It's not some bullshit like the parry system which leaves no window for error because you had to pull it off just right